Hello. I'm just putting my water bottle down. Welcome to the Discover Your Career weekly question and answer session with me, Sarah Curto, career management specialist. I help people figure out their dream careers and give them the tools and strategies to make those dreams a reality. So I'm sorry about last week, about getting strep throat again. And having to cancel it. I appreciate the well wishes and all of that. Thank you very much for being so understanding. And I am back again today, and I'm going to answer the question that I was actually going to answer last week. The how to network when you are an introvert, or like the introvert's guide to networking. It is possible. So I do want to touch on that. Some weekly housekeeping. So I've been busy filming this week, especially today, for the challenge that's coming up in the new year. I'm very excited to do that. So I'll have more to say about the challenge in the new year. I'll probably discuss it January 7th. Anyways, so let's get to it. Networking for introverts. Networking, I don't know about you, is hard. It is work after all. And it is especially challenging for us introverts. I know for me, the idea of going somewhere to a room full of strangers is terrifying. And the things that really terrify me the most is, like, how do I approach people? How do I know what to say? And like the scariest thing is, how do I know how to stop a conversation? How do I not continually awkwardly drag this conversation on because I don't know how to exit it? Those are the things that get me into like an anxiety stupor, where I end up not talking to anybody. And just sitting there with a weird smile on my face, or standing there, or worst yet, not even going in the first place. Because networking is important. Like, I know that. I've had so much success from networking. We all know that. 70% of jobs are gotten through some form of networking activity. So we know we need to network. But how do we do it as an introvert in this sort of extroverted world that is usually showcased as the way to network? So I have had to find a way to make networking work for myself. And since at least half of us are introverts, I'm sure that some of these tips will help you too. So the first thing I want to talk about is, like, what does networking even mean? Networking is about relationship building. And the thing is, extroverts and introverts, we all build relationships. We just build relationships differently. So how do you go about building relationships? And can you use some of those tips and tricks of how you've done it to build relationships with other people? So I know for myself, I build relationships best having one-on-one conversations or conversations in a small group setting. So usually that works best for me. The other thing to think about is, like, number 2, there's more to life than networking events. Like, networking events is not the be-all and end-all of networking. In fact, they're probably one of the least important things you can do. Not to say they're unimportant. I don't want to actually say that. But there's other things you can do in terms of networking and the other networking activities that are just as powerful, if not more powerful, than a networking event. The first thing is the informational interview. These are one-on-one meetings. These are probably the most powerful networking tool you can have in your tool belt. And I talk about them because I've had a lot of success with informational interviews. So I'm a big believer in them. But why I love the informational interview or coffee chat is like, starts off with an email first. So it's like really easy. I don't even have to see a person, talk to a person. I just send them an email asking for a time to talk. Super easy. And then also because I asked for the conversation, I kind of get to set the agenda. So that means I'm a little bit more in control of the conversation, which I know for me makes me feel better about it all. And then I don't have to worry about it being so awkward and with those like awkward silences and no one really knows what to say. I'm leading this. I ask my questions, I tell them about me, and then I end it thanking them. Easy peasy. The great thing about social media these days is that it means that we can do some networking from the safety of our own homes, on our phones or on our computers, where we are in our pajamas. And again, we're not having to talk to people necessarily face to face. So I think LinkedIn and Facebook has an incredible ability to allow us to network. So there's the networking groups. On Facebook, there's a few, including the career networking group if you live or work in the Halton region. But also there's the LinkedIn groups. And even just on LinkedIn and Twitter, tweeting at people, posting status updates, sharing articles, writing articles, that is a way to start networking, especially if you comment or engage others in a conversation about a topic of conversation. Networking, that again is not face-to-face. You're sort of just putting something out there. I know for me, I can be an extreme introvert in terms of private, and so even social media can be tough for me. But that in this past year and a half has been something I've really been working on to get more comfortable doing that. And these Facebook Lives have definitely helped. So that I am more authentic and genuine and really building sort of relationships where I am sort of showcasing myself. So social media definitely helps with that. The other sort of networking that you can do that's not a networking event is going to conferences, going to training, going to these sort of sessions where you're sitting down and watching someone talk, a presentation. Maybe you can talk to the person beside you. Just a quick, have you been to the speaker before? Or where do you work? Just some simple questions, and that can get you talking. And then when the speaker starts, you can stop. And you know you can have only 5 minutes to talk, but it gets you practicing doing it. So networking events for an introvert are still possible. This is the third thing I wanted to talk about. They are scary. Yes, but they are doable. Now, I have a confession to make. As an introvert, I don't do cocktail events. They petrify me because of all of those things I talked about before. I have done like one or two, and I hate them. So I avoid cocktail events or like a networking dinner that maybe has like a cocktail session at the beginning. I avoid them like the plague. That is why for the career networking group in Halton, the first in-person networking event I'm planning for January is a cocktail event style. For me, also for you, but for me, because I know that it'll be a safe space for me to sort of practice my cocktail event skills since they terrify me so much. Because that is a networking challenge I have for myself, is to get more comfortable with that. But I do like to do dinner events where I get to sit at a table where there's sort of dinner to kind of provide a little bit of distraction, and where I can converse with the people who I'm sitting with. Now, I do always go in with a plan because for me, it's all about preparation. Preparation is really what helps me handle my anxiety and my nerves going into it and throughout it. So for me, I go in with a few different types of questions that I can ask people. Questions like, tell me about where you work, tell me about your job, what do you like, what do you hate about it, do you live in the area, like just simple small talk questions, which like sometimes small talk can be the worst, especially in networking settings. Small talk for introverts can feel like the worst. But if you go in prepared and really focus on building that relationship as if you were building a new friendship, that is a way to deal with that. Other things I do is I go in prepared with some talking points about myself. So kind of like an elevator pitch, but I'm super willing to be very flexible with it and not so like toneless and boring and disengaging. It's more talking points that I can insert at different points of the conversation. I always bring business cards. While I always try to remember to bring business cards, I'm actually the worst at remembering to bring business cards. But I highly recommend you bring them, because the act of giving the business cards will give the reaction of them giving it to you, so you can take this sort of new networking relationship outside of the networking event. And last but not least, on how I prepare for a networking event is my goal. So I always have a goal going in. Otherwise, I'm just going to sit there and not talk to anybody. I'm perfectly comfortable doing that. I feel like I feel weird, but I don't feel too weird where I'm going to just start talking to someone. I'm okay with looking weird, being that girl sitting in the corner. I'm fine with that. So, which means I need to push myself. So I need to have a plan and a goal. So typically my goal is I'm going to introduce myself to everyone at the table, and I'm going to have at least one conversation, an in-depth conversation where we're asking each other questions, where I'm exchanging the business cards or information so that we can take it out, take it outside of the networking event. And by having that goal, I'm super goal-oriented, so knowing that I'm check-marking that goal is great for me. And I think it will help push you past it, like the fears and the anxiety and the nerves, and push past the sort of desire to not talk to anybody. The last thing I suggest, I haven't done this for myself yet, I guess I kind of have, is finding a networking buddy. So I go to events with people, but I only really try and go to events with people if my plan is to catch up with those individuals. Otherwise, I am going to let those people enable me to not talk to anybody new. And that is the key with a networking buddy. I think you should find another introvert with the same goal. I have a goal. I want to start networking more, but I'm terrified. Sounds like you're the same. Let's help push each other and support each other through this. So you could give each other challenges, check in with each other, go to events together, but push each other. That is the key. You cannot enable each other to not build relationships. The whole point is to build relationships. So focus on pushing each other, not enabling each other. Well, I hope that helps. So to recap, networking for introverts. First of all is think about the goal of networking, to build new relationships. And how can you do that as an introvert? Number 2, think beyond the scary networking event. Think one-on-one conversations through an informational interview. Think finding online communities and through social media channels where you can do some online networking. Maybe go to some conferences or training where there's someone talking and you don't have to talk too much. Number 2, even though networking events are scary, they are possible. Find a way to make it work for yourself, maybe by going in with a plan so that it takes away some of that fear and anxiety. And last, find a networking buddy to go with you and to push you and to challenge you to fulfill so that you can meet those goals of networking and help that networking build your career to where it should be. So starting tomorrow, I'm going on 2 weeks holidays with the family. I'm not going anywhere. Just 2 weeks of holiday time with the family, lots of family things. So next Thursday and the Thursday after, I will not be doing Discover Your weekly Q&A sessions. I will be back for the next one Thursday, January 10th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And in the meantime, have a great holiday season. Enjoy time off. Enjoy time to relax. Enjoy time with family and friends. And I will see you next year. Take care.